This is a recording of the International Communist Party, which maintains its direct line running from Marx to Lenin to the foundation of the Third International and the birth of the Communist Party of Italy in Leghorn, Livorno, 1921, and from there to the struggle of the Italian communist left against the degradation in Moscow and to the rejection of popular fronts and coalitions of resistance groups. Today, we will be reading from our leaflet for the No Kings demonstrations, the necessary direction of struggle, class unionism in October 2025. The capitalist class voraciously devours ever-increasing profits while condemning workers to greater suffering, mass layoffs, lack of health care, and the disappearing ability to afford basic costs of living affect more and more workers. Meanwhile, immigrant workers are pushed into conditions of modern-day slavery through intimidation and forced removal. In response, the big bourgeois pigs are sending troops into cities across the United States, where workers are most prepared to organize in their defense. These troops are not deployed because of any current movement that threatens their power. Rather, they are positioned in anticipation of the next major economic crisis on the horizon. Such a crisis will inevitably produce an upsurge of worker rage and action, requiring the state to exercise more drastic measures to maintain order. Workers need to organize differently than the dead-end protests and Popular Front activist coalitions that have proven ineffective. These coalitions, in the name of inclusivity across the political spectrum, compromise and subordinate the workers' movement and its demands. They cater to the comfort and preferences of those who would forever tie workers to the inherent sufferings imposed by the capitalist state. The capitalist state will never yield any true, meaningful, long-standing change without being confronted by genuine worker power. Only the class union and unconstrained general strike action can achieve this. These coalitions and Democratic Party-funded groups like 5051, Indivisible, No Kings, Workers Over Billionaires, etc., that disguise themselves in names invented to appeal to a broad base, funnel workers into yet another parade around the city and demand a substitution of bourgeois politicians, some kind of reform, or make no demand at all. Activist groups call for individuals to show up on the street and gather aimlessly, undefended, to be shot at with so-called less lethal weapons as a mere symbol of discontent. They do not hold any sort of power to coerce our class enemy into yielding real, lasting results. It is capitalism that births the horrors experienced by the international working class, both in its good cop mask, democracy, or its bad cop costume fascism. The capitalists who take the reins of upsurges of resistance or drive them, via the Democratic Party and its activist front groups, applying their multitude of strategies to channel worker rage to fight for their party's recapture of power from the opposition. They present you with slogans urging the masses to fight the Trump regime or maintain municipal interests with the call to defend Portland, Chicago, D.C., etc. The working class has no borders, and they are meant to bend to capital's will by local municipal government bodies and their paid enforcement agents, just as they are by the federal government and its troops. Our liberation lies in our commitment to the complete abolition of the capitalist system on an international scale. Anti-fascism is a dead end, in that it implies that bourgeois democracy is something worth struggling for. Anti-capitalism seeks to chop down the entire tree of capitalism, of which fascism and democracy are two branches of. As the crisis of capitalism deepens, we need to organize ourselves not for the Democrats or democratic socialists, but for the proletariat. Workers, organize your workplaces, coalesce worker organizations across sectors and regions so that you can coordinate your collective power to increase bargaining power and leverage. Rather than organize a protest, call for workers' assemblies that unite the organized and unorganized workers to come together in collective action. Organize a general strike that shuts down the city or country until the ICE kidnappings stop. This is the power and strength of the working class united against the capitalist class. Not your vote, not your ability to maintain hearing through the piercing sound of flashbang grenades or how much tear gas you can inhale. If your official union leaders or worker organization choose to align with the bosses and their state and refuse your muscles to be flexed in this way, instead of promoting participation in these mobilizations that would trap you in the hamster wheel of struggle within the capitalist framework, discard them, because the union is for organized workers, not paid mediators with the boss. This isn't to say that a call for a general strike can be made by one of these organizations or an individual just because it is the correct path. General strike action must be the product of coordinated efforts prepared to turn out and sustain with such immense show of strength. It is critical to organize unions with or without government or boss recognition or contracts. Build class struggle caucuses in your unions that influence the broader base within. Call a meeting of workers across unions into assemblies where these groups would have you compromise the necessary aims of the workers' struggle are absent. Their so-called solutions poison and paralyzing to the body of the workers' movement. Workers, exit the squirrel cage of symbolic actions and activist coalitions based on compromise with those who would have you throw your bodies on the line in service of the next capitalist politician or return to the normalcy of the so-called lesser evil and the ridiculous notions that this fight can be fought without clear organization and leadership. Only the International Communist Party, the only party unwilling to compromise and capable of achieving the emancipation of the international working class, can provide this leadership, as we have argued for over a century. Fascism and democracy are one and the same capitalist system that, in one way or another, will continue to exploit, murder, perpetuate genocide, and otherwise bring us under yoke by whatever means necessary to generate their profits. Workers cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of old. Towards the worker organizations capable of coordinated general strike action, towards the building of the class union.